back. Hour number 2. It is the Vegas Take back at you on one of the busiest news days of the year, maybe the busiest. We're talking about the transcript between Donald Trump, the Ukraine president, and I believe it to be a bombshell. And this was Adam Schiff. This is the House Intel chair. He held a presser just a few moments ago. Here's what he had to say about this whole fiasco.
The White House would release these notes and felt that somehow this would help the president's case or cause. Because what those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader.
Mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader. All right, the guy we have with us on the line right now, we always love having him on. We missed him last week. And what better person to have on to talk about this today? We got him on at the right time. It is attorney Michael Avenatti. Michael, I don't even know where to start with you on this, but I just want to give a basic synopsis of what you make of this whole situation.
What's up, Michael?
Hey guys, how are you? Well,
Doing great.
who would have thought that Donald Trump would be doing his very best O.J. Simpson impersonation? O.J. got away with a double homicide, and then instead of laying low or leaving the country or keeping his nose clean, he then was stupid enough to engage in that incident at the casino there in Vegas where he tried to get his memorabilia back. Where somebody had a gun, and sure enough, that's what did him in, and that's what ultimately led to him serving time in prison. And here we have Donald Trump, this moron cheats death, 2-year investigation relating to Bob Mueller, which turned out to not be positive for the Democrats ultimately. And what does this guy do on the heels of that? He immediately engages in a conversation with the president of a foreign land, a sovereign nation, and ask for assistance against one of his political opponents. I mean, can this guy be this stupid?
Yes.
I mean, I guess the answer is yes. And let's remember that the tweet that he sent out a few days ago or a week ago, where he said, "Does anybody really think that I would be so stupid as to engage in conduct like this?" Well, yes, actually, we do believe that, and it's now been confirmed that you are that stupid.
You're absolutely right. Michael Avenatti joining us online. Okay, Michael, so this is a generic question. You as a lifelong attorney, I want to ask you this question for people on the right and the left. Why is it that asking to look into this sort of thing is an impeachable offense? Give me your best answer to that.
Because we don't solicit assistance from foreign nations and foreign leaders to assist us in mounting campaigns against political opponents. When the president of the United States picks up the phone and calls any world leader while he's in office, he's not doing so in connection with a campaign. He's the president of the United States. If you read this transcript, it is clear that he's calling in the capacity as president of the United States. He is not entitled to utilize his influence in connection with seeking a favor, and that's what he says in the transcript. It says, and look, I want to be careful. I don't want to call it a transcript. I want to backtrack on that because it's not a transcript. Okay, it's a summary.
Yeah.
We don't know if there is a more detailed transcript or not. I know it reads like a transcript.
Hey, Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to bring this up because exactly what you're talking about, and then I want to let you continue. What you're talking about, there are certain ellipses, I guess you could call it, in this rough transcript. They do not. The ellipses do not indicate missing words or phrases, the official said. But yet, what we're hearing is this is some sort of voice. I guess what they're saying is it's some sort of voice recognition software. So I'm hearing from one side that it's not verbatim, and then the White House came up with a statement saying that it does not indicate missing words or phrases. So what do you say to that?
Well, I say it's too early for us to determine. I mean, it is not. From my reading of it, it reads in many ways like a transcript, but no one has come out and said that it is in fact a verbatim transcript, nor have I heard that there is a more or that there is not a more definitive document of this call. But let's just take it at face value the way it is. If you look at what is said, Donald Trump specifically states, "I need you to do us a favor." He says, "I need you to do us a favor." He doesn't say, "I need you to do me a favor." He says, "I need you to do us a favor." Well, obviously, what he's trying to convey is that the us is the United States of America. He's utilizing his power as president of the United States, and he's eliciting a favor from the director or from the president of a sovereign nation. And that favor that he is seeking assistance in digging up dirt against a political opponent. That's impeachable. You cannot utilize your influence and ask a leader of a foreign nation for a favor to assist you in a political campaign. You can't do it.
Wouldn't it be worse if he used the word me instead of us? Doesn't that make it a little better? That's the first question. The second question, so you're saying that if there were information about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and it was very, very damaging and damning, that it would have to come organically. It couldn't come from him asking, but he could use it on the campaign trail.
Well, I mean, I think it would depend on what the information is and how he came about utilizing it. But in the transcript, he talks about how he's going to utilize the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr, and his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, to basically seek out this information and to facilitate it by way of the Ukraine. Now, folks, that's not the role of the Attorney General of the United States. The Attorney General of the United States is not supposed to be engaged in assisting the president gain re-election by interfacing with a foreign nation. And Rudy Giuliani, as the personal attorney to the president of the United States, also has no business in this role. He's not a nominated official with the United States. He doesn't have security clearance per se. I mean, he has no business. Neither one of these guys, Barr or Giuliani, have any business in this role whatsoever.
And by the way, Michael, I'm so glad you brought up Rudy Giuliani because, last week we talked about his disastrous appearance with Chris Cuomo, where he basically lied and said, no, he didn't talk to the Ukrainians about Joe Biden, and then literally 15 seconds later said he did. We caught in a lie. I want to play you, Michael, a little bit of this audio last night. This is Rudy Giuliani, President Trump's attorney, attacking Chris Hahn, Democratic commentator on Fox News, while appearing on The Witches Show, also known as Laura Ingraham. I want to play you this audio and tell me what you think of this. Here it is.
Mr. Hahn, I should sue you for libel because you irresponsibly said...
Please.
Yeah, well, you actually usually say incredibly stupid things.
You're a public figure.
Yeah, and... by the way, do you have any idea that the State Department...
So then you know the libel law.
Shut up, moron. Shut up about it. You don't know what you're talking about, idiot.
I do.
The State... No, you don't. You just
Mr.
lied.
Mayor, I wish you would stop.
You lied, my friend.
I wish you would stop, Mr. Mayor.
Well, why don't you tell him to... Why don't you tell him...
I wish you would stop.
Why don't you tell him to keep his mouth shut so we can tell the truth?
Yeah, Chris,
okay?
just let Rudy
just keep your lying mouth shut.
All right, Michael, respond to that. What do you think of that crazy audio last night?
Well, I mean, Rudy Giuliani is a character of himself. This is a guy that used to be respectable, used to do a pretty decent job as mayor of the city of New York. Around 9/11, a lot of people rallied behind him for good reason. This guy's a character of himself. He sold out his reputation, sold out any goodwill that he had in exchange for kissing up to Donald Trump and being Donald Trump's lackey. He shows up at these TV interviews all the time drunk. The guy's an absolute drunk. It's well known behind the scenes that he's a drunk. He goes out, he gets tanked up and goes on these shows and then goes back to the bars and he's carried out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do you really think that's what it is? Really?
The Grand Havana, no, the Grand Havana room in New York. It happens all the time. I know for a fact.
So you're saying, wow, so you're saying these TV appearances, he's actually drunk in some of them?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
Wow.
The guy's drunk all the time.
I have never heard him blow up the way he did.
The guy drinks more than a fish. Anybody that doubts me, go hang out at the Grand Havana room. They carry him out of that place at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every morning. I mean, this guy is a character of himself, and ultimately he should be criminally charged and convicted for his role in this whole thing. All of these people, every one of them, should be held accountable. They should be criminally charged, and they should be convicted.
So, Michael, I know you have a lot of friends at several different networks, maybe not as many at Fox News as maybe some of the other networks. Have you ever, without giving out a name, have you ever had somebody, whether it be an anchor at a station, that said that they smelled alcohol in this guy's breath, Rudy Giuliani?
Many times.
Really?
Many times. Yeah, this is not, guys. I mean, this is really not that surprising or controversial? Absolutely. You talk to bookers, you talk to people at the networks, you talk to people that know. And look, I mean, you can just observe his conduct. I mean, look at his appearances. I mean, the guy shows up drunk for TV interviews. Now, look, I've done a lot of TV interviews. I mean, I did over 300 in 2018. I don't think anybody was interviewed more. I didn't show up drunk for any appearances on television. I mean, this guy just shows up and spews a bunch of nonsense.
And yet Trump lets him do it.
And he's an angry drunk.
He certainly sounded that way last night, Michael. So we have some comments from President Trump. This is moments ago. I want to get your reaction to this. President Trump just accused Democrats of making a manufactured crisis with the Ukraine drama, claimed they won't have time to work on legislation as they consider impeachment. This is what he said, quote, again, this is moments ago from the President of the United States. He said, quote, they came up with this manufactured crisis. I don't know whether or not they're going to have time to do any deals. We were working on guns and gun safety. All they're talking about is nonsense. What's your reaction to that, Michael?
Valid point.
This guy is so full of crap. What are you talking about working on guns? The gun legislation has been on the desk of Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate for months with absolutely no movement. This is just his attempt to distract away from the fact that now he is caught, and he is caught red-handed, and he is trying to distract away from the fact that he has attempted to basically utilize his influence, not basically, he has utilized his influence as President of the United States in order to try to gain a political advantage against a political opponent by use of a foreign president, a president of a foreign sovereign nation. It's just that simple. I mean, if this was Barack Obama or any Democratic president, I mean, they would have already been impeached, convicted. They would already be incarcerated at this point if the tables were turned. I mean, the fact that the Republicans and people like McConnell and Graham and others can actually come out and defend this conduct, it's mind-boggling. It is mind-blowing to me that these folks can actually come out and try to defend this type of conduct. I mean, people, for my friends on the right and the conservatives, the true conservatives, ask yourself, would Ronald Reagan engage in this type of conduct? And if Ronald Reagan was aware of this type of conduct, what would he say? You think he would say that this is okay? Hardly.
I agree. If you're just joining us, attorney Michael Avenatti on the line. Michael, what do you make of this story that came out? NBC News is reporting that Trump tried to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi on this whistleblower complaint after she announced an impeachment inquiry. Apparently, NBC reporting that he told the California Democrat he'd like to figure this out with her. He also reportedly said, hey, can we do something about this whistleblower complaint? Can we work something out? And Pelosi's response to him was, tell your people to obey the law. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm not surprised that he attempted to do that, because this is a guy that thinks that he can just, talk his way out of every situation and negotiate himself out of every situation. He thinks the problem is he thinks he's really smart, but in reality he's really stupid. And that's one of his fundamental problems. And I'm sure that he attempted to do that because, look, he knows the pucker factor with the president and Don Jr. and everybody on that side right now is off the chart. Let's be, they could try to put out this dog and pony show where they're not nervous about it. And, this is a big nothing burger and all the other BS that they're trying to spin. These guys are nervous, and they should be, because he is caught red-handed.
Michael, what separates impeach inquiry from an actual formal impeach attempt, and how is the Democrats' philosophy towards impeaching Donald Trump changed in the last week with the announcement of an impeachment inquiry?
Well, I think it's taken on a whole nother level. It's become a lot more serious, and I think the reason for that is because, obviously, of this whistleblower complaint. And this is a much easier story to tell, and it's a much easier story to sell to the American people because it's a confined period of time. You're talking about, only a few communications likely. It's a far easier story or fact scenario to get your arms around as opposed to the whole Russia collusion angle, which for the record, I said all along, it was going to be very, very difficult to show collusion between the Trump campaign and Donald Trump. I said I thought that was going to be a dead bang loser for months. I always did. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, including the location of witnesses, most of whom were in Russia, et cetera. So I thought in many ways that was a fool's errand, the way that it was handled. Mm-hmm. This is a different scenario. This is a much more confined period of time. The evidence is much more confined. it's easier to get your arms around. And I think a lot of that has given momentum, if you will, to this impeachment inquiry. And so now the Democrats are going to engage in this inquiry. Hopefully they're going to gather the evidence quickly, because I do not think this should drag out, and they should move towards impeachment charges, and then we should see what happens in the U.S. Senate. And for all of the people that say that he will never be convicted by the U.S. Senate, I completely disagree. You may be right, you may be wrong, but I will tell you, as somebody that has tried a lot of trials, you don't know what's going to happen in a trial. You never know what's going to happen in a trial. In every trial, there's always surprises. Some are good, some are bad, and you don't know what's going to come out. So, who could have predicted 2 weeks ago that we'd be talking about this whistleblower complaint in this transcript? Nobody. So you don't know what's going to happen in a trial in the U.S. Senate. You don't know what someone might say. You don't know what evidence might surface. So it's far too early to be predicting what the outcome of that trial is going to be.
If you're just joining us, Attorney Michael Avenatti, I promise you we will take your phone calls with Michael coming up in just a few minutes in our next segment. Okay, Michael, so the word is this isn't the only thing that this whistleblower complained about. The news that the media is receiving is that there are several different complaints by this whistleblower, and Adam Schiff came out and said that this person, man or woman, don't know who it is going to testify and going to speak to the Intel Committee about all of these complaints. There could be several other instances like this one, right? I mean, that's fair to say. We don't even know what this other stuff is yet.
Well, we don't know, and that's why I've been saying, for a few days now on social media that what we need the entirety of the whistleblower complaint or complaints. And when I say entirety, I mean entirety, okay? I don't mean, a portion of it. The American people deserve to know what the hell happened here. And they deserve to have all of the facts, not a sanitized version that's put out by William Barr in the White House. All of the facts. And whatever those facts are in that complaint, so be it. And if the White House wants to quibble with the facts, or they want to argue against the facts, or they want to claim that it didn't happen, so be it. I mean, that's why God created trials.
Right.
So, but the bottom line is that the Democrats need to be pushing forward aggressively now for disclosure of the entirety of the complaint or complaints. Not a week from now, not a month from now, not next year, now.
You are on the record on television in 2018 saying that you did not believe that Donald Trump would finish his full term. You said that. You're on the record in saying that, and it appears as though you might be right. So I want to play this audio real quick, Michael. This is you. I believe it was MSNBC talking in 2018.
There's no question that Michael Cohen knows where many, many bodies are buried. They are going to turn him, and when they turn him, the president is going to be in a very, very bad place. And I'm going to make a prediction now. I do not think the president will serve out his term. I just don't.
There you go. That's you on national television saying that, so it looks like you might be right.
Well, I said that repeatedly in April and May of 2018. A lot of people, mocked me for it. And look, we don't know what's going to happen yet, right? I mean, he's got another 14 months left in his term, and we're going to find out whether I was right or whether I was wrong. And this is a very dynamic situation as to what's going to transpire. So we're gonna see if that prediction was correct. Despite what some people claim on social media, my prediction rate, it hasn't been perfect, but it's been pretty damn good over the last 18.
It is, and you are really the person responsible for the fact that Michael Cohen is behind bars right now, the president's attorney. So, I mean, certainly what you say does matter, and usually you are right when it comes to these circumstances. There's no question about it. Okay, Michael, I think here's what we want to do. We want to take a quick break, and when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to take some phone calls. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with you, and there's going to be some people out there that are going to agree with you, but I want you to debate some of our callers, and it is your chance right now to call into the program at 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation. Do you agree with Michael Avenatti? Do you disagree with him? He's not afraid to debate anybody. I think that's very fair to say. Give us a phone call right now, 702-257-5396. We'll be right back with Michael Avenatti and your phone calls right after this break. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Attorney Michael Avenatti, our guest for the hour. And if you want to get in the ring with him, so to speak, on the radio, The number to call, 257-5396. That's 702-257-5396. Of course, we are talking about all the breaking news of the last 24 hours. There's a lot of it. Do you think this transcript, do you think this call with the Ukrainian president could be grounds for impeachment? And when you're taking your phone calls right now, let's start off with Mark. Mark, you are on with Michael Avenatti. Go.
What's up, Mark?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I
Sure.
appreciate it. Hey, first of all, isn't Adam Schiff the same person who came out during the Russian probe who said that he had evidence of obstruction and collusion?
Michael, go ahead. Address him on that.
Well, I don't recall whether he said that or not, but who cares? I mean, I don't care what Adam Schiff said before. What I know is this. We now have a transcript, or what is purported to be.
Hold on. Hold on. Stop. I'm sorry. That was my question. For you to comment that you have no idea when he was all over print, audio, video, everywhere, saying that he had evidence, and he had no evidence whatsoever. And secondly, Cohen, you put Cohen in jail. Cohen put himself in jail for his lies, his tax evasion. Nothing tied Trump to Cohen going to jail. I think that's just completely ludicrous.
All right, well, let's let Michael respond. Mark, let's let Michael respond to that.
Mark, frankly, you don't have a command of the facts. Go back and read Michael Cohen's plea agreement relating to why he was convicted. He was convicted on tax charges and campaign finance violations relating to his role with individual one, who's Donald Trump, and a conspiracy to commit criminal campaign violations in connection with the 2016 election. That's what that conviction was about. So to suggest that it had nothing to do with the $130,000 hush money payment paid to Stormy Daniels is ludicrous. It's just absolutely false.
Okay, well, okay,
so what is your
backtrack.
position? Wait a minute, I'm not. Let me ask you.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's backtrack.
Let me ask you a question.
Hold on, Mark. Mark.
Mark, I'm going to ask you a question. So if Adam Schiff got it wrong on Russia, it's your position that no matter what the president of the United States does from that point forward, he can't be held to account for it because Adam Schiff happened to get something wrong relating to the investigation about Russia? That makes absolutely no sense. This isn't about Adam Schiff. This is about the conduct of the president of the United States.
Mark, answer that question.
Let me respond to that. For Adam Schiff to come out and just completely can try to convince everybody that he had evidence of obstruction and collusion, okay, that makes him a person who doesn't give you all the facts. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to call him a liar. I'm going to call him dishonest with the facts.
So
okay?
you're saying he's not credible.
Credibility is very important in politics. And to be honest with you, nobody is above the law. If Donald Trump committed a crime, he should be held accountable just like anybody else. Okay? And the reason that I voted for him and so many of my other friends voted for him is that we were a no vote for Hillary Clinton. That's why he got elected. If the Democrats would put up somebody who was electable, then maybe they would have a shot. But being that they can't put up anybody who's electable, you're going to get somebody like Donald Trump. And history will show that Obama created Donald Trump. Okay, and Adam Schiff has no credibility.
All right, well, first of all, when you say Obama created Donald Trump, I think you have no credibility, Mark, but go ahead, Michael.
Well, look, I happen to agree with Mark in that, the Democrats did not put up the best candidate to match up against Donald Trump in 2016.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Repeatedly. I've said that consistently. So I agree with Mark in that regard, but this isn't about Adam Schiff. This is bigger than Adam Schiff. I mean, Adam Schiff did not create this transcript or this summary. Adam Schiff did not arrange the call between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine. Adam Schiff did not ask for, quote, a favor, close quote. Adam Schiff did not ask the President of a foreign sovereign nation for assistance in assisting Adam Schiff in a political campaign for the presidency of the United States in 2020. Adam Schiff had nothing to do with any of that.
Right, it's a completely separate.
All on Donald Trump.
Right, that's a completely separate entity in conversation. And Adam Schiff is also, last I checked, not the president of the United States. Let's go to Zachary. By the way, the number to call 257.
Hey, good call, Mark.
257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396 if you want to jump on and ask Michael Avenatti a question. Let's go to Zachary. Zachary, what's going on?
What's up, Zach?
Not much. Just, sitting in the tractor.
Okay. Okay. Well, go ahead.
Well, okay. So I've been down here in Nevada just doing some custom work, and the only station here in this valley is you guys. So I've been listening to a lot of this, and it's not you guys per se, but, the 720 station.
Right.
And so I'm hearing Hannity, I'm hearing Mark Levin, I'm hearing this now. I just tuned in right before the lines opened up. And the one thing that I got a question for Michael, being kind of up to date on how most of the judicial things occur, does it seem that there is something fishy with Hunter's association with Ukraine?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you know what? Let's let Michael Avenatti respond to that, Zachary, and we'll let you continue to sit on your tractor and listen in. Go ahead.
Hopefully you have a couple of beers with you.
Yes.
Too.
Go ahead, Michael. What do you say to this?
It sounds like Zachary's working hard, So good. No, I'm serious. Good for Zachary. The guy's busted his ass, right?
That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, let's talk about Hunter Biden and what happened in the Ukraine. There's a prosecutor by the name of Viktor Shokin. Viktor Shokin was a prosecutor in the Ukraine, and he was not pursuing an investigation into Hunter Biden's company, the company that Hunter Biden worked at. He was not pursuing a number of other investigations, okay? Joe Biden and others believed that Viktor Shokin had to go. It wasn't about Viktor Shokin was engaged in this rampant investigation and was closing in on Hunter Biden and the company and everything else. That's a bunch of BS. Shokin was dragging his feet and wasn't doing his job generally relating to corruption. That is the fact. That is an absolute fact. And ultimately, Shokin was terminated because he was not being aggressive enough, that he was not doing his job. That's what happened relating to Viktor Shokin. Also, if you look at the timeline of what happened, of when Viktor Shokin first came into office, when he ultimately left office, it does not match up with this nonsense that is being spun by Giuliani in the White House relating to Shokin. But there is no evidence, zero evidence, that Shokin was being aggressive and was closing in on Hunter Biden, and that's why Biden and everybody else wanted Shokin fired. There is not a shred of evidence to suggest.
That's what's amazing about this whole story is that these Republicans want to shift it to Joe Biden and what he did wrong when there's no evidence to support he did anything wrong. That's what makes this even more ridiculous if it's not bad enough.
But let's stop. Let's stop. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that Hunter Biden was dirty. Absolutely dirty. The dirtiest, most corrupt guy you can imagine.
Yeah, it still doesn't make this right. Yeah.
Let's assume that he engaged in all this corruption in the Ukraine. Guess what, folks? That's not the issue. That does not excuse the President of the United States from utilizing his power and position and influence to put his thumb on the scale with the president of a sovereign nation and ask for a political favor. Period.
You are so right. And I've said the same thing. And by the way, the Trump campaign shouldn't be surprised, Michael. They're fundraising now off of this impeachment inquiry. They are trying to profit off of this. They are calling themselves the victims. They are attacking Democrats, and they are trying to profit. Make no mistake about it over this scandal. 257-5396, your chance to be on the line with Michael Avenatti. Let's go to Andy. Andy, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go.
What's up, Andy?
Yep. Got a couple things. One's kind of a take and then maybe a question, but it looks like this impeachment thing might be the last hope because they know the candidates can't beat Trump in the general election, and there's really not enough time to impeach between now and next year anyway. But my question was, there's a video of Joe Biden saying, hey, we're going to withhold $1 billion in loan guarantees if you don't fire the prosecutor. Do you see anything wrong with that, or is that pretty cool with you?
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. Well, first of all, relating to the time that it takes to impeach, I think the Clinton impeachment was 128 or 132 days. So there's plenty of time to impeach Donald Trump between now and the 2020 election. That's number one. Number two, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the Democrats don't have somebody that can beat Donald Trump in 2020. I think there's a lot of campaign left, and it's far too early, especially if you look at the polls, to determine that Trump is not beatable in 2020. As it relates to this Biden video and Biden's statement that they put pressure on the Ukraine to terminate the prosecutor, it was because the prosecutor was not doing enough to ferret out corruption. We just went through this. Shokin was not doing enough, and it was It was widely considered a problem because he was corrupt. He was not getting to the bottom of this. And regardless of what Biden did, we're not talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not the president of the United States. We're talking about the president of the United States who clearly engaged in an effort to pressure the leader of a sovereign nation, Ukraine, to assist him politically. You cannot do that. That is an impeachable offense. It is clear as day.
Andy, your response to that?
Well, so you don't think withholding $1 billion in loan guarantees is pressure? You think that's fine? You think at demanding someone to fire a prosecutor at the U.S., we're pressuring the UK, and do you think that's really fine? Like when the Southern District of New York indicted you, how did you feel about that?
What does that have to do with this, Andy? Why are you talking about his personal dealings?
Well, he got a bad motion yesterday.
I'm giving you. We're not talking about his stuff. Goodbye, Andy. This isn't about his motions. This isn't about his stuff. Michael, you can respond to that, but he's just being a smartass.
Let me talk about that. Okay, again, let's assume that Joe Biden engaged in misconduct relating to the withholding of this $1 billion. Okay, let's just assume that. I think that's nonsense for all the reasons I've already said. But let's assume that that's true. So what at this point? Joe Biden is not president of the United States. If Joe Biden becomes president of the United States and there comes to light some facts or circumstances that suggest that he engaged in corruption or illegal behavior, well, then guess what? We can have an impeachment inquiry about Joe Biden or a criminal inquiry relating to Joe Biden. We're not talking about Joe Biden. We're not talking about Adam Schiff. We're not talking about Nancy Pelosi. That's not what this is about. This is about the conduct of the president of the United States. Did he engage in an impeachable offense or not? And I think the evidence is pretty clear that he did.
I think many would agree with you on that, even some on the right who have some cojones, I guess you could say. 702-257-5396 if you want to join us with Michael Avenatti. Now's the time to call in. Let's go to Andre. Andre, you're on with Michael. Go.
Hey, JD, how you doing, my man?
I am doing great, Andre. How are you?
Go ahead and speak to you, man, because it must be hard for you sitting there listening to these two hacks, these two Trump-hating hacks, going back and forth. But I'm not going to put
I'm giving you an opportunity to ask Michael Avenatti a question.
Can I say what I got to say before you interrupt me?
No, you're not here. You're here to ask a question to Michael Avenatti. If you don't want to show respect and do that, then you could leave.
But thank you for addressing me, Andre. I appreciate that.
I'll talk to Michael in a minute. I don't have much to say to him because he has his own problems.
No, you could talk
about what somebody else.
Okay, well, you know what? You could talk to Michael now or say goodbye.
Right, well, let me go ahead and say this before, because Mike likes to put everybody in jail when he needs to be worried about himself. He had Donald Trump Jr. going to jail in December. How'd that work out, Michael Avenatti? Anyways, let me go ahead and say
No,
this.
not anyway. Let Michael respond to an insult.
Right.
You're not anyway. You're going to be quiet now, and you're going to let Michael respond. Go ahead, Michael.
Man, don't tell me to be quiet.
I'll tell you to be quiet if I want to, or I'll hang up on you, one or the other. Michael, go ahead. No, not whatever.
One more point to make.
Okay, no, you don't get your point. Since you're not an adult. No, you don't get your point.
Let's go.
No, you don't get your point unless you're going to be respectful. Let Michael respond.
Let's go, Snowflake. Let's go. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. First of all, I never said that Don Jr. would be in jail by the end of the year. What I said was that Don Jr. would be indicted. You got to let me.
Let him finish.
Okay, big mouth. Okay, big mouth. Let me finish. You got a big mouth on you now. Let me finish. Okay, it's my turn. I never said that Don Jr. would be in jail by the end of the year. What I said was that Don Jr. would be indicted by the end of the year. And frankly, he should have been indicted by the end of the year. And there's evidence that he was indicted by the end of the year. But in fact, the White House did everything in their power to make sure that he wasn't formally indicted and convicted or charged in connection with his role in the campaign finance scandal. But let me tell you something, my friend. The ship has not sailed yet, okay? And Don Jr. and others around this president, they better hope to hell he's not impeached and removed from office because they could all face criminal charges in connection with their role related to campaign finance violations where Michael Cohen sits in jail for his role in connection with that, okay? So what's your next question?
So you keep on saying that the prosecutor was removed because he wasn't doing enough. Now, Mike, you know that you're misleading people when you say that because the fact of the matter is, let me finish, Hunter Biden was making $50,000 a month working for a Ukrainian gas company that was known to be corrupted. The prosecutor was looking into that corruption. It wasn't that he wasn't doing enough. He was looking into that corruption. He was making $50,000 a month, Hunter Biden. Then Hunter's dad, the vice president of the United States, you say he's not the president, he was the vice president at the time, holds $1 billion in aid until the actual prosecutor is fired.
All right, we get your point. Let's let Michael respond.
But somehow, hold on. Now, Biden says
I have other callers, Andre. You made your point. Let's let Michael respond to that. It's not your show. We have other callers on the line. Go ahead, Michael. Andre. Go ahead, Michael. Respond to that.
Yeah, Andre, you're just simply wrong. Victor Shokin was not doing enough and was not actually looking into this issue relating to Hunter Biden's company. He just wasn't. I mean, go and read the actual facts in the press reports from back then as to what was going on. He wasn't doing it. This thing was dead. The investigation was dead. There was no issue. But forget about it. Let's put that aside. This whole whataboutism that you engage in and the Republicans, it's a bunch of nonsense. I don't care what Joe Biden did. I don't care what Adam Schiff did. I don't care what Nancy Pelosi did. That's not what this is about. This is about the conduct of the President of the United States.
Yes.
And even if everything you say is true, that does not excuse away the conduct of Donald Trump and the fact that this is an impeachable offense.
Agree, 100%. Thank you, Andre the Hack, for that phone call. 257-5396. Let's go to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what's up?
What's up, Elizabeth?
Morning, gentlemen. How are you all? Glad you're feeling better, Michael.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, this morning you referred us back to an interview with Nicole Wallace, and then I re-watched the interview with Bill Maher, and you mentioned about Judge Otero. In both of those instances, do you ever feel that Judge Otero was maybe spoofed by the Trump Justice Department, which didn't enable you to be able to take the deposition of both Trump and Cohen?
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I mean, here's what I'll say about Judge Otero. You know, he's a very widely respected judge. I disagree with him really as strongly as I possibly could relating to a number of the rulings that he made in that case. I don't think they were well-founded. And, you know, ultimately, I think he did a disservice to my client. He may have done a disservice to the country relating to those rulings. I disagree with him. But am I suggesting that somehow that he was engaged in some corruption or was bribed or was under undue influence? No, I'm not suggesting that at all. There's no evidence of that, and I don't think that he would ever engage in anything like that. Again, he's a widely respected judge.
Yep.
I've had other cases in front of him before. We've agreed and we've disagreed. I strongly disagree with the way that this case was handled and a number of the rulings.
Going to try to squeeze in as many more calls as I can. Thank you for the call, Elizabeth. Let's go to Pat. Pat, you're on with Michael. Go.
What's up, Pat?
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Just a quick question. I'm trying to figure out how it's okay for Vice President Biden to talk to the Ukrainian president and make the threats that he made, supposedly, that it's not okay for Trump to talk to the Ukrainian president. What's the difference?
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. Well, first of all, there's no evidence that Vice President Biden sought assistance or conduct by the president of Ukraine to assist him politically. There's no evidence of that. None. So that's number one. That's a major difference. Number two, this is not about comparing conduct. Joe Biden is no longer the vice president or the president of the United States. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He engaged in this conduct within the last 60 or 90 days. It's recent conduct. It occurred while he was president of the United States. And all because we have an instance now where the president of the United States is engaged in conduct that is clearly impeachable. That does not mean that we go back and we do an examination of every president and vice president of the last 30 years.
Exactly.
And we put all of them on trial. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Look, if the Republicans think that Biden engaged in conduct as vice president of the United States that was inappropriate or criminal, then they should charge him.
Yeah.
Then the Department of Justice should charge him criminally, and he should be made to account for whatever he engaged in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we don't pursue an impeachment inquiry and impeachment charges against the president of the United States just because of something that Joe Biden may have done.
Exactly. I'm going to try to squeeze in as many more phone calls as I can here in a short period of time, so please make your points fast. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, you're on with Michael. Go.
You know, I think that they've been after Trump 24. It's all you ever hear about, 24/7. You guys are going to talk about him all day long. I say try and impeach him and move on because he's not going to get impeached. And, you know, that's what it comes down to. You guys cry every day about the guy. I think he's doing a good job. And if he brings to light the fact that Biden's making, his son with no experience getting a 1 point something billion dollars in business with China, that seems a little fishy. I appreciate the president bringing that out as a subject for the.
So Jimmy appreciates. I get your point, Jimmy. So you appreciate the president putting pressure on a political opponent and possibly keeping aid from the Ukraine. Michael, I mean, can you believe it that people are out there that think that way?
Well, it's amazing to me. People actually believe that Donald Trump, that this all came from a place, from a good place with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Right? This is just Donald Trump trying to ferret out corruption and drain the swamp. Are you so focused on corruption in the Ukraine? Are you kidding me? This guy is the most corrupt U.S. president with the most corrupt Department of Justice and administration in the history of the United States. This is a guy who has done nothing to ferret out corruption, but has yet engaged in rampant corruption. And yet people want to believe that he decided to focus on corruption in the Ukraine, and it just so happened to be a coincidence that his political opponent potentially had some exposure in that regard. Yeah. I mean, do people really believe that? I mean, if so, we are in a very sad place in America.
Michael, quick question. Do you think that it's odd that Hunter Biden, despite having absolutely zero experience in the oil gas field, is getting $50,000 a month from a Russian company that at one point was involved in corrupt activities?
Look, I don't know the level of corruption or non-corruption this company was engaged in, and I don't know what the background or resume of Hunter Biden was from a managerial standpoint or executive standpoint, et cetera. People say that he had no experience in the oil and gas industry. Okay, well, there's a lot of people that don't have experience in various industries, and they go to work at companies. I mean, does it sound like it was somewhat of a sweetheart deal? Sure, absolutely, $50,000 a month. But we don't know all the details. But I'm going to go back to so what? Let's assume that Hunter Biden was engaged in rampant corruption, that his father Joe knew about it and was trying to influence the Ukrainian government to look the other way. Which, by the way, the evidence is directly to the contrary. But let's assume all of that is true. That has nothing to do with where we are now and the conduct of Donald Trump. It just doesn't.
All right, Michael, I only got about a minute to go here. So let me ask you this question. When we're sitting here and we're calling you a week from now and you're on our show next Wednesday, where do you think this will all stand? Where do you think we will be here?
Well, I believe that the disclosure of this whistleblower complaint will add considerable timber to this fire. And I think it's going to burn a lot hotter and a lot bigger in a very short period of time, because I believe that it's going to have many more details. It's not going to be confined to this transcript of this single instance. That's what I think.
And, Michael, it was just announced that Trump is going to meet with the president of Ukraine. Fox News just announced that about 10 minutes ago. What do you think about that?
Well, they had this meeting set up, and I was laughing. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and I told him that Trump had this meeting set up with the president of Ukraine, and he thought I was joking with him. And I said, no, I'm serious. I said, can you believe this guy's going to actually proceed with this meeting? I mean, it's unbelievable. Of all the people to go meet with right now, why not call the president of Ukraine and say, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but we kind of have a little situation over here. Why don't we meet in like 30 days or 45 days? I mean, to proceed with this.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the stupidity and the balls on this guy are unbelievable.
All right, Michael, I appreciate you taking some time to join us. We'll see where we are next week. Something tells me we're going to have a lot to talk about next week. Michael, thank you so much for joining us for the hour. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, Jen.
All right, there you go.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
It's Michael Avenatti. We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to change things up a little bit, right? We're going to be talking to young, up-and-coming comedian Sarah Buckley. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
This is The Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!